This video is sponsored by IK Multimedia. Hi there, Perfecto de Castro here and welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. This is the brand new ToneX Cab from IK Multimedia. And in this video, I'm gonna run it in every possible guitar scenario you can use it in. Let's go. The ToneX Cab was introduced during the 2025 Winter NAMM show, and it is IK Multimedia's FRFR solution to round out the ToneX ecosystem. Quick glance at the specs, we have a two-way powered guitar cabinet that is rated at 350 watts RMS, and it peaks at 700 watts. In this cabinet, a special 12-inch Celestron speaker is paired with a 1-inch La Voce high-frequency driver. The ToneX Cab controls include a 3-band EQ plus the special amp tone knob. This control lets you dial in the response from full range monitoring to that amp in a room feel. The ToneX Cab also has 8 presets recallable via MIDI plus an IR loader. To get your sound into the ToneX Cab, there are 2 combo jack inputs. One for your guitar amp that runs through all the ToneX Cab controls. And the second combo jack is an auxiliary in for your monitor feed or a secondary sound source. We also get a direct XLR out with a pre and post switch that you can send to your front of house, to your audio recorder, or to daisy chain multiple cabinets. And finally, we get tilt back heads. That way you can lean the ToneX Cab back and point it straight towards your head. For the next few minutes, I will show you 3 setups that will cover every possible guitar scenario that you can use the ToneX Cab in. First, as an FRFR cab for use with external amp modelers that have their own IRs. Second, with regular distortion pedals used in conjunction with the ToneX Cab's onboard IR loader. And then the third setup is a dry-wet rig with my hybrid pedal board that will also allow me to control the ToneX Cab via MIDI. Plus, I will also cut in live clips of the ToneX Cab in action in a power trio format. That way you can hear how well it works in a live band situation. Now, a lot of ToneX Cab demos here on YouTube either use the ToneX Big or the ToneX One so that their videos are on brand. So I have to shout out IK Multimedia's generosity in letting me show you guys how the ToneX Cab interacts with other brands' products, from budget to boutique. This shows their confidence in the ToneX Cab's ability to integrate in any guitar player's rig. Big thanks to IK Multimedia for sponsoring this video and for giving me free rein in presenting the ToneX Cab to all you guys. As always, all the relevant links, affiliate or otherwise, will be in the video description. So please use these links to go gear shopping, and yeah, thanks for your extra support. Okay, first setup. The ToneX Cab as your FRFR amplification solution. Okay, let's start with the budget option. This is the Moore GE150 Pro Li, and the setup is as easy as it gets. Guitar goes into the Moore, and then Moore output goes into the input of the ToneX Cab. Now, instead of putting a physical camera on top of the ToneX Cab, I'm going to show you the ToneX Cab software, and it will reflect all the tweaks that I will be doing. Also, I have to mention how you're going to be hearing this in-studio demo. For the room audio clips, it will be a combination of what my vocal mic picks up and the cam audio of my DJI Pocket 3. I also have the ToneX Cab XLR out set to post and plugged straight into my audio interface. I have it set to post so that you can hear all the tweaks that I do in the ToneX Cab software. With this setup, you can use the ToneX Cab controls as a global EQ. That way you can make quick adjustments according to the sound in the room without having to go into your presets and tweak everything there. And what sets the ToneX Cab from other FRFR cabs is the amp tone control. And interestingly enough, the amp tone control also affects the XLR DI out when set to post. So you will get to hear exactly what it does. So when I turn down the amp tone control, the ToneX Cab acts more like a regular, FRFR speaker or monitor wedge. Now, the main reason why a lot of guitar players are turned off by FRFR cabs is, of course, the extended response in the high and low ends. Now, from the audience side, your guitar tone benefits from this extended frequency range, but this extended frequency response tends to lose the guitar sound when you are playing on stage with live instruments around you. So the amp tone control is there to bring back and shape the mids to make the ToneX Cab react more like an actual guitar amp combo or guitar cabinet. Now, to let you hear this effect, I'm going to hold a chord and I'll sweep through the amp tone controls range. Now, even at low volume here in my studio, the amp tones effect is clearly audible. And as I turn the amp tone up, the sound focuses to where it definitely just comes from this speaker. So that is very cool. And since the amp tone control is sweepable between mic and live, you will be able to find a sweet spot when you dial in the ToneX Cab at your next gig. Okay, now let me show you the boutique option. I have a Tone King Imperial preamp running into the ToneX Cab. Now, the Tone King Imperial is a dual channel all-tube preamp with digital control, stereo XLR outs, and its own onboard IRs. So this setup right here is the lightweight rig for the blues lawyer tube guitar tone snobs with bad backs. And here is how it sounds. So with the Tone King Imperial's tube preamp, the tactile feel is more immediate. And the ToneX Cab is amplifying all that tube preamp goodness beautifully. one of the current complaints on the ToneX Cab is the mono input. And since a lot of guitar rigs output in stereo, I can see that as a valid complaint. However, there is a way around that. You can use the auxiliary input for your rig's second output. And that's what I have here. I'm using a TRS to dual TS cable running out of the Tone King Imperial's headphone output. And then the TS ends are plugged into the input and auxiliary input of the ToneX Cab. That way I hear both sides of the Imperial's reverb and tremolo coming out of this single ToneX Cab speaker. I do have to mention that whatever signal comes in through the ToneX Cab's auxiliary input does not come out of the XLR DI out. More on that later when I show you my hybrid pedal board setup. However, by using the headphone out, I have the Imperial's stereo XLR out still available. So I can use the ToneX Cab as my personal onstage monitor and send a stereo signal to front of house using the Imperial's XLR outs. Now, I do have to clarify that even though I'm running a 2 preamp into the ToneX Cab, I am still using the Imperial's onboard IR since the ToneX Cab is a two-way full-range speaker. It's important to keep that in mind. That way your tones are amplified correctly. Now, if I bypass the Imperial's onboard IR, then you will hear that ugly, direct untreated guitar tone. Now, speaking of IRs, let's dive into the ToneX Cab's onboard IR loader. Okay, so here's the next scenario, which is using the ToneX Cab with regular pedals, no amp modeling. I do have to clarify that this is the least effective use of the ToneX Cab. However, I will show you that it is still possible. And the way to do it is to make sure you load a nice IR on the ToneX Cab's onboard IR loader. So we are here in the ToneX Cab software. You can see IR is disabled. And with this folder icon right here, I can search for some IRs that I can put into the ToneX Cab. Now, since I'm already a ToneX user, I have my ToneX folder with a bunch of the stuff that I normally use. Okay, let's go into IR. And I have a couple of IRs from my good friend Michael Nielsen from his Big Hairy Guitars ToneX pack. These IRs are meant to complement his Big Hairy Guitars preamp pack, so I think this will work nicely. I will go with the alt version. And now we have this. Now, I will admit that the clean tone is not very inspiring. However, this is where the ToneX Cab's 3-band EQ will come in because it is a very powerful tone shaping tool. So, maybe a little brighter. And then tuck the mids a little bit and tuck the bass. Okay, so that will do it for now. As you can see, just tiny tweaks of the 3-band EQ got me to a good ballpark to start tweaking. Now for the pedal, I'm going to start with a nice preamp style distortion pedal, and this is the Rev G4 Anniversary Edition. Now let me dial in the pedal real quick. More distortion, less bass, maybe up the middle a little bit, up the treble, and aggression red. Okay, that works. Now, I'm still missing a little bit of, in the room thump. So I'm going to turn up the amp tone. Now, I have to remind you guys that you are hearing the bulk of this through the ToneX Cab's XLR DI out set to post. So, however, I have the ToneX Cab set for this particular rig gets saved into this preset and can be sent to front of house. Now, I'm playing this dry as a bone since I only have a single preamp style distortion pedal. But with the ToneX Cab set this way, I can easily put together a simple pedal board with 4 or 5 pedals, compression, distortion, chorus, delay, reverb. And that will be a simple rig that can handle any situation a jam or a gig calls for. XLR out set to post goes to front of house and gets amplified to your audience that way. Or you can treat it like a regular amp and mic it up. Okay, now let's say you don't have a preamp style distortion pedal, just a regular distortion with 3 controls, level, tone, and gain. That's what I have here. This is a prototype of an upcoming signature pedal coming soon. And this side of the pedal is my distortion circuit. So it only has volume, tone, and drive. The other side of the pedal is a boosted delay. So we have the boost volume and then delay controls, time, mix, and repeat. And keeping the same ToneX Cab settings as the Rev G4, here is how this pedal sounds. Now, since this is not a preamp pedal, the ToneX settings take on a muddy character, somewhat scooped mids and tubby low end. So now we have 2 options. I can keep tweaking the ToneX 3-band EQ and, fingers crossed, I find a suitable setting. Or a better choice, which is to change the IR. Most third-party IRs only capture the tone of the speaker or the speaker cabinet. This BHG IR takes it a step further by including the tone of the power amp along with the speaker. Now, following that train of thought, we need to load an IR capture of an actual clean guitar amp. So the IR I'm using is a capture of a clean Fender Twin Reverb with an SM57. Now, pedal on. So with this IR loaded, the ToneX Cab now functions just like a clean pedal platform guitar amp. Okay, so I've been at it filming for quite some time now. This is turning out to be a fairly long video. If you're still with me and digging this video, please give it a thumbs up like and hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you so much. Okay, now we come to the third and final setup for this video, and I will throw everything at it, including the kitchen sink. I'll be using my hybrid pedal board running into the ToneX Cab. I have a detailed build video on this board here on my channel, but in a nutshell, it is centered around the Line 6 HX Stomp XL, which handles the amp and cab modeling as well as some effects. I also have some external pedals, a Rev Tilt Boost, an MXR Poly Blue Octave, and a ToneX one with a fuzz face tone capture loaded in. These pedals go in front of the Stomp XL's amp model. And then I have an MXR Joshua delay after the amp model. And then it goes back into a reverse delay and a Hall reverb in the Stomp XL. Then I have my presets with a dual path setup for dry and wet processing. Dry signal goes into the ToneX Cab's main input, and then the wet path goes into the ToneX Cab's auxiliary in. And here's how that sounds. I'm going to turn down the auxiliary in volume so you can hear just the dry path. Then I have the Joshua delay in the dry path as well. That way I have the option for clear delay trails. Now here's what the wet path sounds like on its own. So I'm using the ToneX Cab volume controls to dial everything to taste. Now I did mention that the auxiliary in is not included in the ToneX Cab's XLR DI out. So to get a clean recording of this setup, I had to be a little creative with the routing. The wet out from the pedal board actually goes into a direct box first. And then the direct box XLR out goes straight into Logic, printing just the wet effects. Also, from the DI box, I took the parallel out, and that is what's going into the auxiliary in of the ToneX. So in a live use scenario, that's how you should route your wet and dry rig, and then just use the ToneX Cab as your stage monitor to hear both signals. Aside from the dual signal path, I'm also sending MIDI commands from my pedal board to the ToneX Cab. This allows me to assign specific ToneX Cab presets to my presets on the pedal board. Okay, take a look at the ToneX Cab editor. This is my clean preset. Preset 1 on the ToneX Cab. Let me go to Dirty. And you can see that I've switched to preset 2 on the ToneX Cab. You can also see the controls change when I switch between the presets. And that's not all. If I go into pedal board mode, I have more, program change control set up for the ToneX Cab. So this is the main preset. I can change to preset 3, which I have the amp tone knob up, less bass, more mids, more treble, and this serves as my, lead patch. Let me go back to my clean patch. If I wanted more hi-fi, or more mid-forward, And since the ToneX Cab controls only affect the main input, I can use that to further shape my dry signal while keeping my wet signal, intact and pristine, since auxiliary in is not affected at all. Let's go to my lead patch. Nice full range tone. Then I can go to a lead tone with more mids. And MIDI programming is simple. The 8 presets correspond to program changes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then on the Stomp XL's command center, you just assign the MIDI program changes to the foot switches that you want. The ToneX Cab operates from MIDI numbers 1 to 128, while the Stomp XL operates from 0 to 127. So there is that offset. For the instant MIDI change, I have it set to bank program change, and then program 0 or program 1 on ToneX Cab. And then on foot switch 1, I have it set to program 2, or which is preset 3 on ToneX Cab. And then foot switch 4, I have it set to program 1 or preset 2 on the ToneX Cab. Okay, look at the editor. Lead preset, preset 2 on ToneX Cab. Then pedalboard mode, foot switch 1 goes to preset 3. Foot switch 4 goes to preset 1. And I have that set up for each of my other tones. Okay, for the most part of this video, I've been using the ToneX Cab at a low volume, mainly because it is right beside me and I don't want to go deaf. So to answer everybody's question, the ToneX Cab can get very loud. In fact, I took this very setup to band rehearsal, and here's a few clips. Judge for yourself. They can tell it's loud enough. So.
They can tell by the clipping.
I think it's even louder than the other one.
Let's put it this way. Right now, I feel I'm too loud.
Yeah?
And that almost never happens. People are always telling me to turn down.
I'll be honest. When I check my ears off, I can't hear myself. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm just like, wow, this is the first time I actually can't hear myself.
So as far as having enough balls, that's
that
definitely has it.
And it's a small, it's a smaller
thing.
Too.
Wow.
Okay, so here are my thoughts on the ToneX Cab. It's great. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's that the ToneX Cab can integrate easily into any guitar player's rig, regardless if they use ToneX or not. For the amp modeler, guys, all your presets are preserved faithfully and amplified to as loud as you want. The amp tone control knob is essential in making your tones feel great, both in the room and in a live band context on stage. And all the scenarios that I showed you guys in this video proves that the ToneX Cab is indispensable. From the most basic of pedal boards to the most complex multi-path MIDI controlled extravaganza gear rig. And I'm sure that a lot of you can think of even more scenarios that you can use the ToneX Cab in. Well, there you have it. That is the ToneX Cab, the latest addition to the ToneX ecosystem, and IK Multimedia's FRFR solution for every guitar player. Again, big thanks to IK Multimedia for sponsoring this video and for being such a great friend and supporter of my channel. And if I've convinced you to get your very own ToneX Cab, please use my affiliate links in the video description. Buying from these links are of no extra cost to you, and the small commission that I get helps me keep making these videos for everybody to enjoy. Thank you so much. If you dug this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, hit subscribe if you haven't yet, and don't forget to ring that bell. And let me know what you think of the ToneX Cab in the comment section. Here's a couple of videos that you can click on to watch, then go grab your guitar and play something. You all know the drill. Practice makes perfecto. Cheers, guys.